Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the English with Gemma podcast, your go-to podcast for turning English practice into progress. So, today we are tackling a challenge that I think every language learner faces at some point. It is when you hit a plateau. So, you know that frustrating period of time where you just kind of feel stuck and it feels like no matter what you do, you're just not making any progress, and you're not really moving backwards, but you're also not really moving forwards either. So don't worry, because I've got some tips and tricks and lots of different strategies to help you break through and keep moving forward if you hit a plateau. So, if you've been feeling a little bit stuck lately, then this episode is definitely for you. First, let's talk about what a plateau is and also why it happens. So, a plateau is that point where it seems like your skills aren't improving, even though you're still putting in effort. Maybe you're just not picking up new vocabulary as quickly, or your speaking and listening skills seem to have kind of flatlined. So they're not going up, they're not going down, they're just kind of staying in a straight line. And that is where the word plateau comes from, like just flat. So this happens for a few different reasons. Sometimes it's because you've mastered the basics of English and now you're in that like intermediate or advanced phase where progress is just slower or a little bit more nuanced. And what I mean by nuanced is like your progress is very specific and it's happening in like more detailed ways. So it might not be as noticeable that you're making progress. Your brain has basically adjusted to the new language that you're learning, so you're not getting that immediate feeling of feedback of quick progress that you probably felt when you started learning English. Whenever we start learning a new skill, when we go from beginner to intermediate, we really feel that change and we can really see that progress because it's happening quickly and the jump from beginner skills to intermediate skills is very clear. But once we get to that intermediate level and we want to start getting a bit more advanced, that kind of happens a little bit more slowly sometimes. So don't worry. This is very normal. This happens to everybody, basically. And with the right approach, you can definitely push through your plateau and start seeing progress again. Now, let's get into the strategies that can help you break through a plateau. These are practical tips that you can start using today. One of the first things is to set new and specific goals. So, this is true for any area of life. I feel like if you feel stuck, you probably need to change something up. You need to do something different because whatever you've been doing is clearly not working anymore. So, you need to set new goals, do new tasks, that kind of thing. So, instead of saying, for example, I want to improve my English, it's a very basic statement. Try saying something like more specific. I want to learn 10 new idioms related to business this month. I want to practice speaking for 10 minutes every day. So you've identified your goal, either idioms or speaking. You've said how many, like 10 idioms, 10 minutes. You've quantified your goal. And then you've said this month or every day. You've said when it's going to happen. So you've given yourself a time frame as well. So that's really important, being clear about your goal, then setting um like a number for your goal, how much you want to do, and then a time frame. By what time do you want to have achieved this goal? So having clear targeted goals gives you something concrete to work towards. And that is going to help you measure your progress a lot more efficiently. So take a moment to think about what specific area of your English you would like to improve, and then set a goal that challenges you just enough to keep you motivated. So you don't want to make it too difficult, but you also don't want to make it too easy. You want to try and find that middle ground where you feel like you're challenging yourself, but not too much that you're going to get demotivated and then not feel like studying. Another great way to break through a plateau is to switch up your study methods, your actual techniques that you're using. Excuse me. If you've been focusing a lot on grammar, for example, try adding more speaking practice. If you're doing a lot of reading, incorporate listening exercises or try writing more. For example, if you're used to studying alone, join a conversation group or a language exchange. If you're constantly reading, challenge yourself to watch English videos without subtitles or try shadowing. If you're interested in shadowing technique, I have a podcast episode and YouTube video on that. So you can check that out. So shadowing is really quickly basically where you repeat what a speaker says as closely as possible and you try to imitate their pronunciation and rhythm. The key is to keep things fresh and challenging. When your brain is faced with new ways of learning, it adapts and grows, and that is what's going to help you push past your plateau and stop you feeling stuck. Now, let's talk about focusing on specific skills. Often, plateaus happen because you've reached a certain level of overall competence, like what I was talking about before. When you reach that intermediate level, you kind of understand the overall rules of the language, you can communicate, but there are still very specific and nuanced areas where you can improve. So, what I need you or want you to do is identify your weaker areas. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, okay, where are my weak points? Is it pronunciation? Is it writing? Is it listening comprehension? Once you've pinpointed where you need more practice, I need you to dedicate extra time to those skills. And it sounds so basic, but a lot of the time we just focus on the overall goal of just, I want to improve my English. That's great, but that's not how you make progress. You need to pinpoint specific areas and set very specific goals for yourself. So, for example, if pronunciation is a tricky point for you, try spending time on phonetic exercises or mimicking native speakers. If writing is your weak spot, maybe try keeping a journal, writing your grocery list in English, or writing short essays or emails in English. So just trying to incorporate whatever area you're trying to improve into your day-to-day life that's going to really help you see progress. All right, guys, give me 1 second. I'm just going to take a little sip of my drink. I'm drinking vitamin C in my water today because there are a lot of viruses going around at the moment, and I don't want to get sick. All right. Another powerful strategy is to, like what I just said, incorporate real life practice into your routine. This could be anything from having conversations with native speakers, participating in online communities, or even just speaking out loud to yourself. The more you use English in real world situations, the more natural it will become. It's all about taking the language out of the textbook and into your everyday life. So I'm going to set you a little homework right now. This week, try to find one opportunity to use English in a real world context. Maybe a language exchange, a chat with a native speaker, Or if you find those too difficult, just try narrating your day in English as you go about your routine. So when you wake up in the morning, you can just say, okay, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm going to eat my breakfast. I'm going to cook eggs and toast. Even if you feel crazy talking out loud to yourself, it is a way to improve. So try not to feel silly about it and just do it because that's how you're going to make progress. The more that you do that, the more natural it will become for you. So finally, take some time to reflect. So I want you to ask yourself the questions of where are my weaknesses? Then I want you to pinpoint those weaknesses and set specific goals for yourself. Then, once you have the specific goals, do something every day to achieve those goals. And finally, reflection. So once you've kind of experimented a little bit with these different techniques, ask yourself, what's been working for me? What hasn't been working for me? Sometimes all you need is a short break to just reset your mindset. After a break, you might find yourself returning to your studies with a fresh energy and a new perspective. So if something isn't working for you, just take a step back, reflect, pause, and don't be afraid to take a break. I know that might sound counterproductive, but it's actually very productive. If you're feeling stuck and you're in a plateau, sometimes you might just need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and reassess how you're learning and how you want to move forward. And I promise you, your energy will feel renewed and probably a lot better. So I really encourage you to do a quick reflection exercise. All you need to do is write down your progress so far. What areas do you think you've been doing a good job at? Identify any patterns or habits that might be holding you back. And then think about how you can adjust your approach and your techniques to keep things moving forward. You know, I've hit plateaus before in my own language learning journey when I mean, I'm still learning Spanish. I think language learning is a lifelong journey. But when I first started learning Spanish, I remember I felt like I was making so much progress when I went from beginner to intermediate. And then I kind of got stuck at an intermediate level. And my progress slowed down. I started feeling discouraged. But what helped me was taking a step back, reflecting, identifying what areas I wanted to improve, varying my methods, and then focusing on my specific skills. So for me, something that I really wanted to improve was my speaking. So I forced myself to speak more. I started going to my doctor's appointments in Spain by myself. I used to always ask my ex-boyfriend to come with me to translate. But once I took that step of just going to my doctor's appointments alone, I realized that really helped me get out of my plateau. So just believe in yourself and switch something up, and I promise you will stop feeling stuck. You can't expect to stop feeling stuck if you don't actually change something. You know what I mean? It might seem obvious, but sometimes we just get stuck in these patterns and we don't realize that we're not doing anything to move forward. I also started watching Spanish films with subtitles always, but that really helped as well to kind of just make it more fun again and get out of that plateau as well. So, as always, I would really love to hear from you guys. Have you felt like you're stuck in a plateau recently? What did you do to overcome it? Or are you still in the process of trying to overcome it? If you'd like to share your story about that, I would love to see some comments either on Spotify or YouTube. And yeah, let me know if this episode was helpful for you and if you use any of these tips or tricks. I would love to hear. So before I wrap up, I want to leave you with a little challenge for this week. Try setting a specific goal for your English learning, something small but challenging enough. Maybe it's learning a new set of vocabulary, practicing your speaking for a few minutes a day, or engaging in an English conversation with someone. I also recommend keeping notes about your progress, keeping a journal. I love to journal every single day. And yeah, I just want to finish up by saying hitting a plateau is so normal. I think everyone who's learned a language has felt stuck at some point. But with the right strategies, like setting specific goals, varying your studying methods, focusing on specific skills, incorporating real life practices, taking time to reflect, you can definitely break through and start making progress again. Thank you guys so much for listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube. You can also check out my Instagram. All my social medias are called English with Gemma. If you're interested in lessons with me, all you have to do is search englishwithgemma.com and you can check out all my class prices and also the types of classes that I offer. And if you ever have any doubts or questions, just feel free to send me an email or a direct message on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.